What is up, guys? It's your boy, GRC. What's going on? Let's get to the chat. I was just finishing watching the girls' stream. So there'll be maybe some of them will be coming over. That was a good one, guys. Morning. Good morning, fellow Hexicans. Footsteps, Hexander, Monica Mofit Meals, Chad Donnerswans, KS, Frack, Hexican Tattooer, Sandra Larson. It's a beautiful day to be a Pulse Chaniac. Absolutely. Testnetiac, more like it. Sandra Larson, Hexander. Wonder you. Hey, nice, cool Pokegon, bro. That's top tier. Nice face on that one. Probably listed for 1.11. Be like $126 right now. Flip that baby. Guys, we have a good show today. We're gonna back off the crypto heavy talk today, and I'm gonna be picking Sam's brain about the details about macro. Not necessarily, like, we all know the news, right? They say all the numbers in your face. They scream the numbers. And I'm just that one gym rat that's like, guys, I don't know those numbers, and I know there's a lot of people that can relate to that feeling because everyone's doing other stuff, working. So we're going to talk through some of the CPI stuff, the CPI, the inflation rate, all these numbers. What do they really mean? And what do they really mean for crypto? What does that mean for crypto? You know what I mean? Everyone says they're decorrelated, they're correlated. Newsflash, not decorrelated. Absolutely correlated, 100% correlated, pretty much. And the more economic mass that comes into any system, it will only get more correlated by definition due to the economic mass. And then, if you look at where the mass comes from, you know what I'm saying? Like, things just convert. The 5% just converts their bags. You know what I mean? So just because these things move at different rates, sometimes they hold more mass, more volume, harder to move. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of nuance because Hex has so little liquidity that sometimes it looks like it moves different, but really it's either just a lagging indicator, more so because it just moves faster, less people trade it in higher volume, moves priced fast. That's why you see those explosive pumps in those major dumps. Guys, I'm going to bring up a quick, for everyone in here, 32 in here already. Nice. Guys, I am going to be at the golf tournament in September, covering live on the ground KSB TV. Okay, go right now, and I'll have Bullish drop it in a second because I forgot to actually grab that link. The KSB TV Twitter page, guys, give them a follow. There are sponsors that are DMing me. I had 2 sponsors DM me last night, and people want to show up to this golf tournament, guys, and I'm going to be there. I'm excited. I'm promoting the crap out of it. I'm just going to make this one of the best good times that any Hexican could possibly have because I'm going. So I'm just going to pump that baby. We're going to have a great time, guys. KSB TV, Black Hexican, Patrick. I think Hex Lion is his name. And we have A-Bit, guys. Pulse Tube, good to see you in here, guys. We'll do 1 minute and 9 seconds, guys. We'll be back with the macro.
You already know what time it is. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hex and I'm making a stake. Got me some hedge and I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that's just in case. Jim ready sent me to show you the way. Crypto in the morning, 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 crypto in the morning.
Whoopsie.
Yo, what's good, brother? How you doing? Today we're going to be covering some macro stuff related to inflation. Like, what is inflation? And then, like, what are some things that are coming out right now that could indicate a different future than what a lot of people expect. If you think of like a black swan event, why is a black swan event a black swan event? A black swan event is just something that is unexpected by the masses, right?
And this is definitely, this wouldn't be that, right?
It is not inflation. It is actually going to be the exact opposite of inflation. I think inflation is going to tank, personally. I think.
No, but go back to that statement you just said before.
Black swan?
Yeah, so like this wouldn't necessarily be a black swan event because everyone's already anticipatory, right? But
what are they anticipating? Think about that for a second. What
everyone's starting to anticipate doom and gloom. And I would say the majority of people don't really know why. And I'm probably going to funnel myself into that category a little bit more just because I couldn't explain it to a child. Like, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't. So that's how I know that I'm not there. Like I could talk about my buddies, but I couldn't teach the class. Right. So I just want to talk through some of these things. Like I experienced what I thought was a black swan event. So I've experienced in my financial journey in real time, one black swan event in cryptocurrency. That was the COVID-19 crash. I got in at the bottom of the COVID-19 crash.
Congrats.
That is when the guys that I was in the pay group with were like, this is the time. They said, this is the time. They said, this is dumping. I don't know how long it'll stay down. I said, whatever. These guys are so annoying. Literally at the time, I was like, oh God, I feel like I have to get this off the checklist. Like spend for it. Like that's how it felt. Because I was doing other stuff. And I rode that up to 57K without looking at the Coinbase once. I never even looked at it. I had zero care. You remember me at that time. I never brought up money once. Yep. I was just like, I want to know what's going on. You know what I mean? So it's super interesting. I watched that. I saw HEX go from 2 cents. No, this is what I watched, Sam. It was really actually probably the craziest transition in history. I went from no coin or no carer to 3K Bitcoin. Next time I checked my Coinbase account, I was at 57K, swapped it to HEX within a week or within like 2 weeks. So I swept 57K Bitcoin to HEX, went up to 56 cents in 3 months. And I'm just like sitting there the whole time, like, whoa, what is going on? Like, is this real? Like, and the whole time you're doing it, you don't know everyone, you just listen to narratives. And that's why I have such a good feel for the narrative, because I was believing the narrative for a long time. And it was just like, and until Richard was like, no, this is how something works. And that's why when I talk about this beforehand, I want to be able to teach the class, right? Because I don't want to fall behind.
So what is the narrative right now?
So as a newbie, the narrative is like inflation's super high. That's super scary. This is dangerous territory, but nobody has no money yet. You know what I mean? Nobody is actually on the streets pounding on doors yet. You know what I mean? So we're in this little transition period where, to me, it could be a little bit of FUD. Maybe a little, like maybe we're on the hair of like, this is a normal market correction, the bottom of the market, the news starts to get really rowdy. They start to image everything in the way that they want to. And then correction comes, whether that's 6 months, 8 months. I know guys that say 2 years, no problem. This could be down. No problemo. They say, I've seen it a million times. So I'm interested as we go through this article, and we can either pull up the Cointelegraph one that says Bitcoin tank on highest CPI data. The Bitcoin tank is so irrelevant in this whole thing. So I just want to, Yahoo Finance for now. Guys, we're going to read through the, go ahead.
Before we get into reading through this, I want to give people like an idea, like what inflation is. Because a lot of people think it's just that the prices are going up. But I think that's kind of like a naive way of understanding inflation. When you think about inflation, it's in actuality the price of the things that they're denominated in, meaning the dollar, going down in value. So you know how in crypto everything trades as a ratio. You go to Uniswap, PancakeSwap, Sushi, et cetera, everything trades as a ratio to something else. Right? You have 30,000 or 23,000 hex per.
So is that
one
CPI
Ethereum
rate actually a median for all of the price hikes for the certain goods and services?
Yes, but I wouldn't. How if CPI is like the number that say I control. So if I say this is the data
So it's almost a centralized term. Like
that I
somebody
can
almost
manipulate.
created it to just like have the media stand on. Oh God, not going down that rabbit hole. Not going down that rabbit hole right now because that's probably again, guys, manipulated media. But what can we get from it? We're if you extrapolate manipulated media, as you've seen it so many times, you can actually get the answers pretty quick. It's like if you've dated enough people, you can walk into a room and see who's single and who's not without asking. Like I could do that at the gym. I could tell who's single right away. Like it doesn't, but somebody who never got married when they're 18 might have no idea of that interaction, right? We've seen manipulated media so many times, Sam. Everything that we've read has been us funneling through and talking back and forth about how to get rid of, in our minds, like the middleman per se. So I forgot what the point was, but just like any media source, guys, take it with a grain of salt.
CPI is like a number, consumer price index is like a number that is purported to be the inflation number, but like how much are you going to, so first of all, inflation, what is it? It's not that prices are necessarily going up. It is the value in which they're denominated and going down. Remember when I think Bitcoin first launched, there was, I'm sorry, Ethereum just launched. It was like 23 to 1, meaning for every single Bitcoin, you can get 23 Ethereum. And now it's what? Different number. Maybe it was like 40 to 1. Now it's a different number, right? Maybe it's 20 to 1 now, and it was like 40 to 1 at the point. What happened? Well, inflation in that case would mean that Ethereum has gained value relative to Bitcoin. So in price world, right, we have prices, and then we have everything denominated in dollars, right? So if the dollar loses value, then the price of everything goes up. And in terms of CPI, which is on a separate piece here, CPI is a number that, say, the government controls. So that means they can just change things to say whatever the fuck they want to say, right? If you know data, you know statistics.
And that's why I keep mentioning, and my spidey senses are starting to tingle on the downside too. Now, I know we're going to dump more than this. You better believe that. But like to say that we might be down and this will just be something that we've never seen before, I don't know. These numbers that Sam's saying, they can be fudged to give a narrative because there's backdoor deals going on all day long. You know that, Sam. These contractors, what the fuck are they doing? Who the fuck knows? They're printing out tanks and just laughing. You know, like it's sick because I knew I did cross it with the couple of guys that did military contracting. And they said it made them sick to their stomach sometimes.
We have like an interesting story playing out. So let's put this into context. Let's take a step back. So we're not looking at the tree. We're going to look at the forest. What do we have coming up in November here in the United States?
Election time.
What is something that is going to get absolutely destroyed during the election?
Joe Biden.
And the Democratic side. They're going to get fucking disseminated.
No way Joe Biden survives to the end of the year. And I'm not saying murder, just heart attack. Like whatever stem cells they're keeping that dude standing up with, like I do not even know. He talking gibberish. He's not going to be able to take this criticism when it comes to the gas prices because people are starting to feel the heat.
So what do you think would be a good thing for Democrats? Well, if between now and November, we saw a tank in inflation. And so if I push the narrative that says this, and then the narrative I think is going to actually change. I'm going to show you the case
exactly.
here.
Is that little premium there? Because you remember when I got in at that 3K Bitcoin, I was lucky. I snuck in. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. There's a lot of people that might have known that COVID news was going to come out maybe 2 months before that it actually came out. And they knew that was 0% chance that they were going to have the markets be able to stay put, at least to a degree. And I got lucky and slid in and saw all that. But there's guys at that time, I guarantee that we're scooping on that because I just know the game. Everyone's scooping. Biden is literally a Bernie from Weekend and Bernie's Puppet nonetheless. I don't know what that means.
There's a movie or something I remember from a couple decades ago where there's this dead dude and they're like, oh shit, we're supposed to babysit this dead dude. Well, they accidentally kill him or something like that. And then they just prop him up and make him look like he's actually doing something, kind of like what Biden is right now, where he's like completely useless. But let's get into this article and then we'll paint this story as we move forward.
Let me do some reading and some question asking real quick because I'm sure I'll have some. Inflation surges 9.1% in June, most since November 1981. Now, without seeing anything, Sam, I would have been able to guess that inflation was pretty darn high if I never read any literature, because I'll tell you what, the grocery store experience that I'm having is different than it was last year. And the experience that I'm having at the pump, different than I ever have dealt with, because when I was driving in the majority, I wasn't paying for the gas, like for the truck I was driving. And
now I'm going
to the gym. It's like 7 miles out. I'm like, sheesh, I'm taking a day off. You know what I mean? Like, you know what? Just because it's like ridiculous. And when you learn about HEX and Bitcoin and Ethereum, you start realizing like, ooh, you don't want to leave any fiat on the table when these. I'm just saying.
What do you if we look at gas prices? No, this is we look at gas prices. We had $2, maybe a little over a year ago. $2 or less per gallon. In Florida, it was less than $2 a gallon. Now down here in Florida, it's just under $5. I drive a Tesla, so it doesn't bother me. But a lot of people, it does bother, right? Businesses tremendously.
Like for example, a business that I know, family friends. They drive everywhere. They make a lot of extra money, but they drive, lots of drive time, crazy drive time. And dude, that's like $300 a day now.
So think about this. They are saying inflation is 9.1%. So if gas prices went from
45%.
Yeah, correct. You're correct. If they went from $2 to now $5 per gallon, and if you fill up once a month, or if you fill up 7 times a month, that means your prices have effing doubled on gas.
Yeah, this number is bullshit. Dude, okay. For example, this is just real life example. 4 strip steaks from Wegmans used to cost me $22. Big old ass ones. Like I'm talking fatties, one that Sam would eat for his whole protein for the night. And now it's $22 for one. For one. In a big one, that's like if I was like trying to like fudge the numbers, I would say roughly it's like $17.50 for one. Used to be like $24, $22, depending on the size of the steaks for the 4-pack. And then it's like, I don't even buy the steak anymore. I swear, I don't care that much for, like I just get chicken breast and move on. Like it's that they priced me out of steak.
Wow.
They literally priced me out of steak in real time too. It wasn't even over like a decade. It was like GRC starts streaming. GRC can't buy steak anymore. Like if you could literally watch the inflation numbers rise, you go to the tank. I would say 9.1% probably sounds about right for like the average of all goods. But why are we averaging all goods? You know what I mean? Like we should be averaging the things that people get hit on the most, the average person. And gas is why everyone says gas, because the average person needs to pay for gas. And we're not talking about Mr. Frickin' Bill Gates or whatever. We're talking about random ass people that make $32,000 to $107,000 a year. And those are the people we're talking about are getting wrecked, ruined, smothered. And they are going to start. I'm telling you, this doesn't affect me the way it does because I don't have kids. So it doesn't matter really. But like for everyone else and for people that have over leveraged themselves, because, hey, it could have happened to me too. If I was a smart ass kid, they could have sent my ass to Harvard. I'd have been paying for that shit for the rest of my life. Everyone rolls the different dice. You know what I mean? But put yourself in a position. If you're a single man in here, you're a young man, you need to work with me. You need to understand what I'm talking about. You need to protect yourself. You do not need to follow the rules that everyone told you, but you do need to keep your overhead low so you can be fluid, so you can move. And that's the only point I'm giving to the young bucks today. All right. So let's keep reading, guys. I love talking about the macro. I'm sorry. It's so fun because this is what it's all about, guys. Literally, like this is what it's all about. Real time. I'm giving you real life examples as I learn like what these numbers stand for. and it becomes more clear. U.S. consumer prices in June accelerated at the fastest annual pace since November 81. 81. That's 40 years back. RH was not born yet. RH was not born yet.
Isn't he in his 50s or in his late 40s?
I think he's 40.
Oh, but yes, that was a long time ago.
I don't know what it is. The Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index, CPI, fake number that they made up so they can write that, reflected a year-over-year increase of 9.1% last month, up from the prior 40-year high of 8.6% in May. Economists were expecting June reading to show an 8.8 increase according to estimated compound. Sam, is this going to be what's that point? Is this basis point going to be 1 basis point, 1 full basis point?
12%. This is 12% a month. So you know what happens when you have like hyperinflation is that people use other ways to transact in value than the US dollar. Like if somebody's holding a boatload of cash in their account, they're effed. Like I have a boatload of cash in my account that I'm actually switching it all over to crypto because of like what I see taking place. This is the chart here.
Wow, what is this chart? Source U.S. Bureau of Labor. Shaded areas indicate U.S. Consumer Index year over year change since 70. Okay, so I wasn't around in 70, guys, so you can talk to Bob the guy about that one. But no, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know what was going on then, nor do I care to speculate at this moment. But I do want to talk about since I was born, early 90s, right? So I was born in the early 90s right here, where we've been going sideways ever since GRC was born, sideways and down, basically in a perpetual, really good place. I mean, that is a beautiful, when you're looking at, I mean, look at what we're looking at, guys. We're looking at, we don't want this chart to go up and to the right. You want this chart to go smooth in some way, shape, or form, right? Like you want it to be moving in a direction as a trend. So this is going up, down, and right back. So Sam, imagine we go all like we're near the top. Maybe we go a little higher, straight back down to where we are. And then the chart just goes sideways again. How long is that time period? Look at one of those spikes for me, Sam, on the left. And how many years?
So say this is 78 to say 82. This is a 4 years between here and here.
Guys, and I'm just speculating. Guys, 2 years until we see a downtrend. 1 year until we see another downtrend. Not out of the books. A year and a half, not out of the books completely. But we'll be moving in the right direction. But it seems like when you stabilize, see, this is just a great chart because now this just opens up a lot of different ideas in your head because of the way these charts move. Like those two moves are so different than the last 20 years. Like so different. Like what the fuck? So is this like an 8 years, 12 year cycle or some shit or some weird shit?
Well, it happens when the government prints massive amounts of money, right? Because then you have that's why it's like anything that's denominated in dollars is going to go up in value because relative to the dollar decreased in value, just like how Bitcoin decreased in value relative to Ethereum since its launch. That's why it used to be 40 to 1 or something for 1 Bitcoin for 40 Ethereum. Now it's 20 to 1 or something along those lines, 19 to 1 for 1 Bitcoin, you get 19 Ethereum. But it gets even more interesting.
Yeah, I like this kind of talking. I like this kind of learning because this is what is so important to learn about right now. I mean, it's interesting that it's coming up in mainstream, and I don't want you to listen to that stuff, guys. Don't listen to that stuff. It'll confuse you. They'll say things that make you emotionally distraught. And when you're emotionally distraught, you don't think of things and make good decisions. So we want to make sure we're staying on the up and up, staying ahead of them a little bit. What do we got here, Sam?
Okay, so commodity prices collapse echoes 2008 crisis. So
okay, stupid question, but like, what is the category of commodities embody?
Great question. Great question. Well, in this picture, they have, I think this is plywood because I have a buddy who does like custom furniture for people. And so he is directly impacted by the price of wood. And at one point, I think he said I just talked to him over the weekend. He was buying a piece of like a 2x4, or not a 2x4, a 4x4, 12 foot or something for like $27. And now it's 50 something dollars. Does that look like a 9% or a more than a double in terms of the price? This is interesting though. So they're collapsing. So we have copper, nickel, aluminum, coin. Corn. Soybeans.
So when they're saying commodities, guys, they're saying everything. They're literally saying everything you can hold. So think about that, guys, and let's see. So plunging prices of commodities are eerily reminiscent of the 2008 global financial crisis. And Sam, we should do a 2008 rewind, and I'll pull up some crazy articles and stuff and really dig through them, and then ask you questions about like some stuff. 2008 global financial crisis, and indicate the world is headed for a deep recession. Not saying that depression word yet. Copper has plummeted 20.6%. Jesus, since May. What?
So where are we right now? We're in the middle of July. Since May. So whether they're talking
about if you were in plumbing, get wrecked forever.
Well, this means the prices. So the price of this thing is coming down. So the price of this thing is coming down. So we have stupid high inflation, and then commodity prices are coming down. So yes, correct. You just like, wait, this doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make sense. I see the commodity prices going up.
Okay, so this is exactly what I'm talking about for the November election that I talked about.
Ooh.
Because so we have copper prices plummeting 21% almost in the month of May, while aluminum is down 18%, nickel down 30%. Prices of agricultural commodities, including corn and soybeans, also have fallen steeply. This is not so much a canary in the coal mine. This guy says he's an analyst for this company, but basically you have commodity prices coming down. What are commodities used for? They're raw materials that go into products and things like that. Yes. Okay. So those prices are coming down. Is
it harder to get these?
It's not necessarily. No, it's going to be it's going to be cheaper because people saw prices coming up. So what do people like me do? People, business owners, do we try to make things more complicated for consumers? Do we try to make things cheaper for consumers? Do we try to make better experiences for consumers?
Hopefully.
Yes, right? Like intelligent people do that, right? Well, you have the government, this opposing force that just tries to make everything worse for the society.
So the governments are getting a hold of all this cash, and they're being able to kind of like because
I think we're going to see a drastic decrease in inflation, and the narrative is, oh, inflation's so bad, inflation's so bad. You know what the media is going to do? You can mark my words, you can clip this, and you can share this when we get to November. We're going to see probably, I expect, a drastic drop in inflation, and then Biden is going to say, oh, look at the great job I'm doing, right? As we see this coming down, and try to use that to market all the clowns like who are trying to run on that side to help them in the and
front run it, just like everyone in crypto does. The people that know the crypto market, they play you a narrative. Now there's a couple guys that don't, but most of the guys do. They will play the narrative. If I wanted to make as much money as possible doing this channel, just money, I would get as many guys in here that knew nothing about what I was talking about, and I would be feeding them the biggest horse shit that I could ever feed someone, just like I did when I bought synthetics at $46, and it's like $3 now. You know what I mean? That's the kind of advice they'll give when they have clear knowledge, because I know that I would if I was in since 2014. They have clear knowledge that the gains are running slim, if at all, and they are going to be moving into USDC faster than a year. And then they'll tell you when it's 90% down to fucking like act like they know what the fuck's going on. And they're like, we're bear, like we've been bear the whole time. And I'm like, we weren't bear when you were telling me to buy Celsius at $40. You know what I mean? So it's just the whole you got to find people that you trust. On this channel, you can actually trust us. That is one of the things that's a little different. You could tell if people are trying to sell you shit. Yeah, maybe one day I'll sell you shit, but it's going to be fucking lit, and it's not going to be sucking value out of everything that everyone does in order to make a premium. That's not how we do things here. That's why we're learning, and I'm in a learning phase for this kind of content, especially. Let's pull this back up and get right into it because this is great.
So this is from EIA. This is the Energy Information Administration. This is gas prices, right? So U.S. all grades, all formulations, retail gasoline, because there's 83, 90, 89, 91, at the gas station. But then there's also 10% ethanol. I think there's 5% ethanol. And then at a certain point in the year, right around when the summer ticks over, they actually change the formulation of gasoline. And when you take into consideration all of those things, you get to see that since they started tracking this in the early 90s, we are at the highest prices ever in terms of them ever tracking this, which is astonishing. But you know how I said that I think prices are actually going to be coming down? I think inflation is going to be coming down because we saw the drop in commodity prices. But also, if I see something that I am selling that has a stupid high price now, but demand has not changed, then what ends up happening is I will produce more of that thing.
Yeah, you're going to dump.
Right, because I'm going to make more money. Right?
It's pretty fucking simple. The market hard. I was talking to this really rich guy in my area about the market, and he told me people will be spending money for 3 more months. He said like around 3 more months, he's like, then people will the money will run out and it'll be on the feet. You'll see it. You'll feel it. You won't see people at the Doge Cabana store hanging out as much as you did the previous summer. You won't see people buying.
What do we see about the whales? What do we see about the people who have a boatload of HEX from the beginning? As soon as price goes up, they're going to start getting rid of their shit. They're going to dump it on everybody else, right? I'm not saying
small amounts because you can't even tell.
Correct. And if I'm producing oil and I see oil prices at $200 a barrel, and I could get 5% more next month of barrels produced, I'm going to increase that, right?
I'm dumping it. I'm buying it, and I'm dumping it.
This is what's happening right now. This is why I said business people we're taking advantage of this. Business people drive inflation down. The government drives inflation up, right? The U.S. oil production hits new 2022 peak, but more runaway ahead.
This is important, guys. This is really important because, again, you got to get through the information that other people aren't willing to get through. And it takes time. And I think, Sam, it might be a good idea over the next couple of days. Maybe we just cover some current events, news, what's hot and right then in finance. Because finance is a hot topic right now because we're in a crash. And it might be able to drive some traffic to the show that we're just talking about these overall things. And we're learning, waiting for that time to really buy into the market hardcore. I know that's what I'm doing. I'm waiting. I'm lurking. I'm waiting. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. I'm not a dummy. Okay. I'm waiting. I've seen the buys and sells. I've seen the guys. I'm not saying HEX couldn't go to the moon, but I'm saying if the macro is down, there's no chance that everything else skyrockets and stays up. If I see that shit, I would be fucking shocked. I'd be happy as shit, but I would be shocked. And that's why we stake HEX, guys, because nobody can tell the future. Domestic crude output reached a new all-time high for the year as producers continue gradually ramp up to meet summer demand, the U.S. Energy Information Administration reported Wednesday. So let's look at this U.S. crude oil. Okay, so that's kind of like the other chart a little bit.
Yeah.
So up at the end yet.
So we are seeing.
Will we see that up at the end? Is this the last lagging indicator, Sam?
Well, I think what is the thing that gas influences? The gas, crude oil prices. If you look at this, crude oil has now dropped around to $95 a barrel.
Yeah,
it was much higher. I think at one point under Trump, it was like $28 a barrel, $30 a barrel. So it's still substantially higher. But the gas prices should start to ease. If I produce gas, if I produce crude oil, I can make a lot more money when prices are higher. Plus, there's certain refining and or drilling or extraction methods that only make sense at higher prices because of the variable cost to produce that thing. So we have commodity prices dropping. We have all time, at least for 2022, production increases in crude oil here in the United States. This is also taking place around other places around the world because what is taking place over in Eastern Europe? This little thing that they like to call a war, right? Between Ukraine and Russia, right? What is
the actual war too, as far as the footage that I've been checking out? I mean, I know footage can get fudged, but I've seen some pretty large missiles getting shot around over there. And I'm no historian or anything, so I'm not going to look up the missile prototypes and see like what year they're from. But there's bombs going off, big buildings, and that shit's crazy. So I can only imagine that implications that have, and the FUD that creates, along with the nuanced understanding that some of those people in the actual war probably know. Again, Sam, people that have seen wars, have created wars, have probably, know how these things work. They know how the economics of it works. And that's a really deep hole, you know what I mean? Because war sucks up a lot of that money. And it's like, you can't say anything about it. It's like, oh, there's a war. Oh, there's goes a bunch of money. Oh, there's people dying. And that's the narrative always. So it's an interesting one, the war stuff.
I see. I want to get into one more chart here.
Yeah, please.
One more thing.
Please.
You had mentioned this. So we have commodity prices tanking. We have crude oil production rising, and we have prices dropping, right? Because supply is increasing, right? What happens if there was a boatload more HEX on the market, right? The prices are going to drop, right? That's just how it fucking works. Mm-hmm. And we have this same thing happening in real world, except for it's the production of crude oil is creeping up because I could make more money if I produce more because the prices are higher, right? If HEX prices go up, the people who were in from the beginning start dumping. And it's not saying they're dumping a shitload of it. They're going to start selling off some of their bag. And they're going to sell that to the new people who are coming in.
Too much premium.
That's how it works, right?
Too much premium. You got to sell. It's just a fair market in that way. Like it really is just people buying and selling. Like whether that's a person with a lot of money or a person with a little money, like it's all on the blockchain, which is the interesting part of the whole mix up.
So check this out. What does this chart look like?
That looks like up.
And to the right. Okay, generally speaking, if you have an investment, this is the type of chart you would like to see, up and to the right. This is the ratio. Remember how we do ratios in crypto, right? So it's easier to understand these. This is the ratio between the US dollar and the British pound. At one point, back I think around 2010, 11, 12 or something, it was around 1.6 dollars per 1 pound. Now it's much closer to $1.2 per pound, meaning US dollar has gained relative to the pound. You had mentioned right at the beginning of the show, relative to the euro, I believe, right? Look at this. 1 US dollar equals 0.99 euro. Effectively, we are at parity. Again, if we go to the 1 year chart here, look at this, US dollar relative to the euro, up and to the right. What does this mean? This means that
bullish for US markets.
This is bullish for the US dollar. Again, let's
look but like, is the reason this happening, is this just showing company strength? Is this just showing like fundamental financial strength comparatively to the other countries?
What happens in the crypto market when a scary event happens? Where do people move their money to in terms of if they want risky assets?
Baby.
USD, right? Okay. Well, what do you think happens in the legacy world when uncertainty increases in the marketplace? They move their money to USD because it's perceived, because the US has done a very good job of PRing people, like PRing, we're going to give you dollars or we're going to sell you something, right? So this is what's happened. We have the British pound decreasing in value relative to the dollar. And I'm going to get to the point of these in a second. Canadian dollar decreasing in value relative to USD. We have the euro decreasing in value relative to the USD. We also have, I don't know what the Chinese currency is, but the yuan, right? Oops. So here, over the past year, we actually have a decrease in value relative to the Chinese currency. Interesting, right? So we have this big basket. And let's actually check the Aussie dollar. I think that's AUD. What do you think this happens, right? Because this is going to be a twofold thing. Oh, we have it again. So we have this giant basket of currencies where the US dollar actually goes through and has been losing or gaining value relative to this basket. So you're like, well, why is this important, Sam? What does this mean? Well, what is something that countries like produce? Well, the country will sell things, so that's going to be an export. And then what do we buy? Well, those are called imports. So when you look at a macro level here, you have a countrywide, all exports is this number. All imports is this number. Now, if you have the US, we are a net. Here, let me pull this chart up here. This is from BEA.gov website. And this shows you what the international trades and goods and services are. We're in a deficit. What the fuck does that mean? Well, we import.
That means we don't got no exports, but we got to pay for everyone's shit.
So now put this into context. Okay. We buy shit. We buy more shit from other countries than we sell to these countries.
Mm-hmm.
What happens with the currency? What did we just describe? The dollar has gone up relative to the pound. The dollar has gone up relative to the Canadian.
So we're
dollar.
buying assets at the same rate, but at the same capacity, but at a better rate.
Boom, smart man. That means what takes place? We can either buy the same amount of.
That means just like you were mentioning before, it's a good time for us to dump material. It's a good time for businesses to be trying to dump as much as they can. And it seems like all the business imports come to the States. So right now there's a lot of extra shit, but like people are going to dump it into US dollar. So all the produce that's coming in, I guess, is getting dumped into US dollar. So that's why the dollar is showing strength, because it's imported value rather than exported.
Because we're bringing in about 300 billion. I think that's per quarter, and we're selling 200 billion per quarter. Right. So we're buying more than we're selling. But at the same time, like you just said very acutely, the dollar has increased in value relative to the British pound. So we're buying shit from the Brits, but our currency has appreciated.
It's like we're having a little bubble within the States almost. It's like
the
States is bubbling up because we have that extra value in the dollar, and we have all those resources to sell and hold and do whatever with, because resources will be sold whether you like it or not. Like there's businesses they're going to keep running. Those are important things to have. You know what I mean? Those are very critical things to have. Like people need steel, people need all that shit right now really bad. And if you can get it to anyone at a little bit of a better rate, your business will be fucking popping off.
What do you think happens when if you think about it in the countrywide, if there's a bunch of products increase, if there's a boatload of new products on the market, do prices go up or do prices go down? If the supply of products increases,
well, the price should go down.
Okay, what do you think is going to happen before the November election? We have commodity prices tanking. We have oil production increasing, which means prices are going to come down. We also have the dollar gaining value relative to the pound, relative to the Chinese currency, relative to the euro, relative to the Canadian dollar, relative to the Australian dollar. What do you think? We import from all those fucking countries. That means we buy more shit for the same dollar amount. Means more can come in here,
and we can play more games with it.
Correct. What were you buying more shit when Hex was 30 cents?
I was maybe a little, but no, I was just happy.
But you got more for your sacrifice, right?
Oh, true. Yes. I guess in those terms, that was a rare scenario, but yes, I got a lot more money. I got a lot of USD value into the sacrifice pool because of the inflated market. And
now we're doing the same exact thing, but with USD. USD is increasing right now. And now people are taking the expensive USD and they're buying shit in other countries, which is cheaper to us because our currency has gone up. Their currency has gone down relative to ours. I think inflation is going to drop and that is going to be the quote black swan. Maybe black swan is too of an extreme term to use, but the narrative is inflation is going up, inflation is going up, inflation is going up, inflation is going up, right? We're going to die, right?
So once the narrative gets solidified, it's like the people have already made their moves.
Yes.
Yes, because I made my move a long time ago, like on this, and I wasn't even early. But like I was behind the curve. I sold at 11 cents, hoping that it wouldn't go back up. Pretty damn darn sure that it wouldn't go back up at that point. And we are here today, still going down / sideways. Now the bottom could be in for any of these assets for certain. And maybe not for certain, but like, you know what I mean? You can never tell in crypto, but as far as Bitcoin's concerned, it ain't going anywhere until the rest of the market, everything really. I mean, you could just say, yeah, there's some stuff that'll pop off in the market because it has really low liquidity and people don't know about it and it has enough of a bubble. But for the most part, all risk on assets are out the window right now. Why would you have a risk on asset right now? It's just risk.
Unless you're like us and you acquire during these times, because we know the tide is going to shift at some point.
It's the opportunity of a lifetime.
Massive.
It's the opportunity. Massive. It's absolutely the opportunity of a lifetime right now in the markets. Like if you don't, it's not when people are buying all the shit, doing all the stuff, making all the clout videos, that's when it's overinflated. Those videos have ceased. The Lamborghinis are not flying around on Twitter like they used to. You know what I mean? People are not renting those things and taking pictures all the time. They're staying home. They're not worried about when you have excess income, it gives you a lot of freedom. You'll see a lot of more things happening in the world. You'll see a lot more people doing random ass shit that seems like, but at the end of the day, we are in a recession-ish right now. There were markers today showing that it's not ceased yet, and we're going to have to wait another month to figure out what's going to be the next move. And if it's 1 basis point or 0.75 basis point, that's what everyone's looking at. And we'll see. What did the basis point thing mean?
In terms of like interest rates?
Yeah, they just always say like the basis points went up 7.1. Oh, so that's just the interest rates.
Yes. So basis points is just means a fraction of a percent. So if you have 50 basis points, that just means 50% of 1%. So like it would be like 0.5% would be 50 basis points. It's the vernacular. It's like the words they're using to describe something in simple. Like they just want to make it fucking sound fancy. Did
we look at this already?
Yeah, this is the international trade of goods and services, and this is, but remember, this is like we can sustain this because the currency is actually gaining in value relative to all these other currencies. I could be wrong, but it's pointing like inflation is going to come down.
Hey, we'll see, guys, and we'll be covering it every single day. You know that at Crypto in the Morning. We're going to take the next couple of days and probably cover some current events, news that's going on right now in the market world, because that's kind of what's really important right now. Obviously, we'll do episodes if anything comes up. And if there is anything you guys want me to cover, go ahead and drop it down right now and I'll write it down. I will cover whatever you want, whether it's a one-off episode or whatever. Any guests you want me to have on, I will have on. And we are keeping these shows kind of tight because we want to be flexible for doing other episodes and other videos throughout the day, because it gets hard if you stare at the screen for too long at one time. And I think the shows like this are way better for getting information across to you, because like I had a point to be on the stream today. It was to learn about these couple things. And we did that. And then the stream ends. And it's better. It's cleaner. It helps more people in less time. And it'll help me become a more efficient show host and YouTuber.
And I just want to pull up one more chart here, and then we will wrap things up here. This is the Fred, right? So this is the St. Louis, Federal Reserve, data. They collect data, right? This is the federal debt, total public debt here. But this chart up and to the right, but this is debt, and you can actually see that the rate of increases is going up from the 1960s roughly up until the 2022. We have a big, massive increase. This is debt from the U.S. government. This house of cards is going to collapse at some point. This is when we say like, oh, this is super interesting. Like I think inflation could go down, but what this thing here in terms of U.S. debt is what's going to make the whole thing collapse, because of what the government does is they just print money to waste it, right? They print like rug pulls. Rug pulls. What do? They increase the supply of them. When I have access, I have the admin keys to a cryptocurrency, and you're holding my cryptocurrency, and I just give myself 10 billion more tokens. Your shit is fucking worthless, right? Because I just gave myself a boatload more supply. And that's effectively what the government does every year. They give themselves more supply of this currency, which means it just perpetually goes down and to the right. And this is a increasing slope. That means at some point, this house of cards, the government just printing more and more money by using debt, is going to collapse at some point.
And they're going to scapegoat the whole thing into a crypto situation. Probably they're just going to fucking clear it, figure it out, give everyone a certain rate. We'll see how they end up doing it technology-wise, like what it actually looks like. But again, centralization will be a part of the plan. So guys, just remember, this is a time to protect yourself. We could be down for a long time, but this is also the opportunity of a lifetime. So you should be hustling harder than ever. You should be learning more than ever.
Yes.
And you should be working out more than ever, guys. It's your boy GRC. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. All the links are below, guys. We'll be back at you tomorrow. We might be on later. You never know. But tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, crypto in the morning, guys. DeFi proof, 2 minutes and 1 second. Hey.
Young folks, you tripping on them motherfucker.
Richard Hart. Richard Hart.
Bought my HEDGE from the fucking start. .1 every day we mark. Bought my HEDGE from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my HEDGE from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Checking my MetaMask moving. Look at the HEX, he is mooning. Looking at wives they be choosing. Peter is why they be losing. Pull chains out and they'll get me a check. He's gas up and it got me a mess. Remember the times he died collect. HEX I been eating, I'm dying in the best. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Bought my HEX from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my HEX from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart.